Hello everybody. Welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing fantastic and that you're all having a wonderful day. And without any further ado, let's jump right into it. The chief executive of the Chamber of Digital Commerce has said that they believe that Bitcoin could hit a seven-figure sum by the year of 2029. You might remember, if you're new here, hello. If you've been here for a while, you know the deal. It is widely believed, gigantic question mark. A lot of people believe that by the year 2032, that Bitcoin will be over $1 million per coin. It has to do with the next 3 halvings that would be taking place by then. It has to do with the level of adoption, the, supply and demand. Also, constantly a big thing. We see more people getting into the network, into the space, opening a Bitcoin wallet all the time. And it's simply if the current rate of adoption continues, they believe that by the year 2029, we would hit a $1 million Bitcoin. I've mentioned before in tons of other videos, we've also seen analysts talking about it. It's a major figure point as to what $1 million means. It's not only a gigantic amount per Bitcoin, but it also signifies that a large portion of the world has actually moved over to Bitcoin. We get news quite often about countries, institutions, you name it, who've been allocating money to Bitcoin for quite some time, not just the 1 or 2 who has Bitcoin as a form of legal tender, but the other countries who are also accumulating. We went over before. For those of you who missed it, I think a lot of people maybe didn't see that video, doesn't matter, that the U.S. government also currently holds around $6 billion worth of Bitcoin. And the discussion also then becomes, if Bitcoin happens to do a 10x in price, the U.S. government has $60 billion in this new thing that could potentially, at some point in the future, take over, surpass, or be used more than the actual U.S. dollar. The energy is quite hot within the cryptocurrency space as far as where people think things are going to go. It tends to happen every single time that we have a halving or are near a halving, or you just like general sentiment. We've gone over many times. It's actually quite rare that we have any kind of negative cryptocurrency news. You can count the entire Sam Bankman-Fried FTX thing that we also had before. But pushing that aside, everything tends to be quite good. And a lot of analysts have been saying this for a number of years, but I think it seemed, I don't want to say the word unbelievable, but it's kind of like years ago, if you were ever listening to the first iterations of Plan B, the guy on Twitter, who talks about where he thinks Bitcoin can go over the course of the next couple of years. He was quoted as saying many times, he's like, yeah, by the time the chart gets to 2032, I tend to not tell people where I think the price is going to go. And he was like, I'm seeing anywhere between $1 to $10 million per coin. And he said, but when I tell that to people, they think I'm completely insane. If someone told you back in 2017, Bitcoin's $1,000, hey, buy 10 of them, that'll be $100 million someday. You would have been like, okay, sure, I'm going to cross the street now because you're a little weird. So everyone, the major analysts who have the charts, who have the figures, they comb through all of these things. It's one thing for me to go through the news every single day here, but it's another thing to actually have, like, you have accumulated all of this data onto your computer, onto a database to be able to say, hey, if this continues on this trend, on this date, we would have X price. In an interview on CNBC, Priyan Boring, the cryptocurrency advocacy group's founder, there we go, and CEO, said that Bitcoin's fair value price is likely, she believes, somewhere that Bitcoin should be over 100,000 to 210,000 per coin. According to Boring, a combination of mass adoption and limited supply will greatly boost the top crypto asset by market cap's price during the next 5 years. I mentioned that before as well. You hear 5 years and it doesn't sound like the year 2029 and you forget exactly where we are. I'm always assuming that we're still in 2020 or 2021, or just not that the 2029 doesn't sound like a real year. It sounds like something from Back to the Future or something like that. I don't know. She said, we use valuation models to try to understand what the value of Bitcoin is today. We all know what the price is, but the real question that we need to understand, that investors need to understand, is what is the value? We use 4 different valuation models. And basically, according to their model, Bitcoin right now is heavily undervalued. I don't even want to get into it. I'm not going to sit here and rant, because we've collectively done that thousands of times together. Over the course of the last 2 years, just based on generalized accumulation news, it was to me quite clear that the price was being manipulated by whoever was doing it, because there's no way that we could get news that all these companies, countries, institutions, BlackRock were into Bitcoin, buying Bitcoin, mining Bitcoin, and some days the price would drop by 4%. So I was like, okay, I know that the whales are behind the scenes accumulating and basically lowering prices for everyone else to be able to buy. But yeah, I still think this is going to be an absolutely insane year for all of us in many different ways. But also now we have these predictions. Like, we're not there, but we're kind of nearing this point where I mentioned before, a lot of people have been saying since 2016, 2017, also 2018, that Bitcoin's going to 500,000, Bitcoin's going to 1 million. And I want to see if it's actually going to get there. This is kind of where this all has been leading up to. Yeah, that's the chief executive of the Chamber of Digital Commerce, saying that they believe that Bitcoin could be 7 figures within 5 years. It's not unbelievable. It simply is not anymore. And yeah, let's move on. This wasn't popular news, but it was one of those things where like people didn't care for the news, but it was all over the place kind of news. A number of years ago, just a little like story beforehand. A number of years ago, a lot of coins began to pop up on the cryptocurrency scene. And I was constantly asked by a lot of people in the comment section, what have you, Twitter, what coins were in my portfolio. So I did a couple of videos where I told people what coins were in my portfolio. It hasn't really changed that much. I think there were initially like 7 or 8 coins. And then I had another video where I told you there was Cardano and Omi, and I mentioned whatever 2 other altcoins are also there. Just constantly accumulating. Also like Decentraland and Mana and yada, 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 yada. All those things. And a lot of people began to ask me why I did not have any coins that had private transactions. They said they believed that they thought that that was the future, the original idea of Bitcoin. 2009 Bitcoin was to have private transactions. No one knows where your money's going, all that kind of stuff. And I remember telling people, well, governments don't like them. And people were like, yeah, but that's nonsense. Crypto's going to be bigger than governments. And I was like, sure. Okay, tell me exactly how that ends up working out. So never have I ever owned a privacy coin simply because I knew from the get-go governments would not like them. Some of the first stuff that was actually banned in a lot of countries were talking about banning cryptocurrencies, but the stuff that was actually banned were any coin. Like, it was a blanket. It wasn't like name. It was any coin that had a private transaction on it. So that's where this leads us. The crypto exchange known as OKX will apparently be delisting 8 coins that have private transactions over the course of the next couple days. These include Monero, Zcash, and Dash, the big 3 as far as like popularity for private transactions. These were the first coins to be thrashed about a number of years ago by governments, and then they were also delisted on multiple other crypto exchanges. For those of you who do not know, Litecoin had an upgrade a number of years ago called Mimblewimble, like the same thing from Harry Potter. And basically, it gave Litecoin completely private transactions. Part of the problem is that it was at risk of being delisted from cryptocurrency exchanges. So there's basically like a switch on Litecoin that says you can send private transactions, but you can also deactivate it to be able to deposit it onto cryptocurrency exchanges what have you. And since then, we have not heard a word about it because Litecoin historically was known as like a test net, a place to test upgrades for Bitcoin, as it is a source code fork. So anything that works on Litecoin would work on Bitcoin. And years ago, we heard that once Litecoin had private transactions, we would have the exact same thing on Bitcoin and then silence. Because imagine the world right now and how many people would hate Bitcoin if it had private transactions. According to the press release, besides the above mentioned coins, this will also affect, I don't know what these coins are, Fusin, Zex, that is ZKS, Capo, CVP, and Zen. I think Zen is supposed to be Horizon, if I'm not mistaken. OKEX delisted a number of these coins, or just they suspended deposits on 8 of the coins on the 27th of December. And apparently people will have until the 5th of March. 5th of March of this year to be able to withdraw the coins that they have on those platforms. It's just never been worth it. I know that there are communities out there who like these coins, who use these coins, who utilize them, who find value in them. No, I am a cryptocurrency investor. It's the same exact thing. Like buying a privacy coin for me is the same as buying a stable coin. It just really doesn't make a lot of sense. So if you are using OKX or any other crypto exchange, I think all the other crypto exchanges no longer list them or allow them on there either. So if you're using OKX, you have until the 5th of March to withdraw these coins if you had them in the first place. I would assume a large portion of you did not or do not, because they're going to be banned everywhere. That's how private transactions work. And yeah, relatively all over the place news, as a lot of people were once again very shocked, and it's like, nope, that's just how the world works. And yeah, let's move on. For some reason, this was also, I'll explain to you why I think it was popular news. Apparently, countries within the European Union collectively account for 6% of Bitcoin's network hash rate, while the United States has apparently emerged as the world's #1 Bitcoin mining entity, a new report has stated. The economic bloc's Bitcoin mining prospects are, however, being hamstrung by what they're calling tensions and the region's, almost said country, and the region's energy dependence. So let me back up a little bit. A number of years ago, one of the largest topics on the planet was that China controlled around, I think it was more than 51% of the Bitcoin hash rate, mining power. And a lot of people had a lot of problems with this, simply because they were stating, what if China does X, Y, and Z? What happens if China does this? And yada, 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 all these other things. So the narrative then became, we need to move cryptocurrency mining around the world, all over the place. I was unshocked to find that when people said we have to move Bitcoin mining, they mainly meant to the United States. The idea was to move that 51% plus over to the United States, and therefore everything would be a lot more safe and decentralized. But that's not at all how Bitcoin works. There have been minimal efforts by a lot of the richest people in the cryptocurrency space to make sure that Bitcoin is being mined literally everywhere around the world. That is to say, in every country in Latin America, in every country in Africa, because if there ends up being someone in power in some country who decides that they don't like Bitcoin and they say, shut it down, it's banned, well, guess what? You have 51% of it over there. This caused a lot of the panic a number of years ago when it came to people believing that China had also banned cryptocurrency mining. They did not ban cryptocurrency mining. What they banned was, I believe, individuals, like everyday normal people who had 1 or 2 machines. And they also banned companies who would not register with them, or who they say had not registered with them. So there are still tons of companies who are mining within China, but these are usually government-controlled companies, and or companies who basically have not only bent the knee, but bent both knees. And they said, okay, we will do whatever you want as long as we can mine Bitcoin within your borders. And the European Union, in this news now, accounts for 6% of the Bitcoin's world hash rate, which it should be a little bit higher, but alas, whatever. This ended up making significantly popular news. According to the latest Bankless Times report on Bitcoin mining, the 28 countries that comprise the European Union collectively account for 6% of the hash rate. On the other hand, Ireland, whose 2023 GDP of $115 billion is nearly 160 times less than the European Union's GDP, accounts for 2% of the Bitcoin's hash rate as well. Okay, whatever. I'm going to move on from that because I'm not in the mood to get into like what belongs to what and how everything is actually moving. The really weird part is that the person who wrote this article, I don't think they understand how the world works. They maybe have never also been to Europe. They wrote, despite having the potential to increase its share of the hash rate, the EU countries lag behind because they lack the infrastructure required to achieve this. That's why I said maybe this person has never been to Europe. You'd be surprised. I've met a lot of people, and I mean, it really, how do I say this? I would love if people traveled more. I think it would greatly enrich in the lives of many around everywhere if people just traveled more and saw different things. A number of years ago, when I was younger, for those of you who don't know, I lived out the latter part of my teenage life and my early 20s in France. And I remember going back to the States to see friends, and I had someone ask me one time if we had running water. And I was like, yeah, you have running water? I was like, yeah, Paris has running water. And they didn't understand it because they had never learned that anywhere else outside of the States, you think I'm joking, had actual running water. I was asked before, did we have internet? All these really interesting, weird questions. Europe does not lack the infrastructure. It's just that it's simply not as popular there as other places. That's what I'm saying. Like when you actually talk about even the renewable sources of energy, there are other places that far exceed, especially Northern Europe, when it comes to like solar power, not so much wind power. But this is why Latin American countries and countries within Africa have the actual capacity to be able to do this. But a lot of the time, the narrative is we need to get it under control. And by that, they mean have it under control in America. But what happens if the American infrastructure collapses? It's all these things that people never really take one further step into. So whoever wrote this article, I hope you travel a little bit more because no, Europe does not lack the infrastructure required to be able to mine more. However, Alice Leatham from the Bankless Times said, the European Union has the capacity and ability to improve their hash rate. Mining is the current most profitable frontier in the crypto ecosystem. But for them to benefit, they have to lay ground. There's not really you have to understand that one of the major things when you talk about why people adopt cryptocurrencies and why we've seen massive amounts of adoption over the course of the last couple of years, what's been the constant over and over? It's been inflation. It's been countries that have terrible economic policies and have high interest rates, or that also do not have the actual physical infrastructure that you would assume many other places around the world would have. So as we've seen, the amount of people re-enter the market is usually from these countries that actually need the infrastructure to be able to do so. When you talk about why Warren Buffett and his, gang of friends and all these other things like that, when they talk negative about cryptocurrencies, is because they don't need it. It does not benefit them. There's literally nothing that would really make them want to have it because they make their money from the old system. So when you talk about Europe, and I dare not say completely, once again, if you've traveled around, all of Europe is not rich diamonds, gold and stuff everywhere. A lot of Europe still looks like the old country, the old way and stuff like that. But there's really no economic, need for a lot of Europe to be like, okay, we need to now get into Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. This is why, once again, Anyway, so the point is, the number is, and this was very popular because of the number. I don't know why this made it into such popular news. The European Union currently has 6% of the mining hash rate. I think 7 or 8% probably is as high as it should possibly go. And then other places around the world. We need to make sure that this is as decentralized as possible. It literally has to touch every single country. If we could get every single country to have 0.5%, Bitcoin will be hyper decentralized. But anyway, that's for some reason, people were obsessed with the 6% for the European Union news. And good job, Ireland, on your 2% as well. So, okay. No mention anywhere here of China. So I wonder what that number is. And yeah, let's move on. Also in not popular at all news, but I saw it and I was like, yeah, I definitely figured as much. Binance is still the world's largest cryptocurrency trading platform. And despite everything that happened to them in this concerted attack that happened to them last year, apparently they're still growing. According to the new CEO, his name is Richard Tang. He does not seem to be as vocal and twittery as Changpeng Cao was. The company apparently experienced a 30% increase in the amount of users in 2023, a year marked by regulatory challenges and expansions. This growth signifies a robust performance by Binance despite all of their legal problems that they've had, and apparently they went up by around 40 million people, bringing them to around 170 million accounts that are now active on Binance. I'm actually really excited for this because whatever that was between Fidelity, JP Morgan Chase, BlackRock, the SEC, and a number of other entities making sure that Binance was going to go down, Binance still continues to thrive. And I know a lot of people don't like Binance, but you should also be cheering because imagine if it was that easy to get rid of an entire crypto exchange. Then they did it to another and another and another. And then you find yourself going to JP Morgan, going to Bank of America, or going to BlackRock as a way to store, hold, and trade your crypto. The point is it's to get away from them. It's to move to a brand new system that is not controlled by them. But I know a lot of people also don't care about that as well, because as long as people are making money, they tend not to care about other people. But that's also another conversation. So yeah, cool. Binance has continued to grow. I'm very happy for them, like legitimately, because there was so much nonsense that was happening last year because of a number of parties. But yeah, this wasn't really popular news, but it should have been, because people need to celebrate things like this a little bit more, as opposed to being very blasé about these wealthy people taking over the world and now trying to take over crypto as well. That's the Binance news. And yeah, let's move on. No one asked for this. And also, this is not going to work out. This was very popular news. I'm hoping that we do not see a runoff from last year into this year. Last year, a huge part of the narrative was CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, stablecoins, countries making their own, wanting to make their own, all these kinds of things. They've come to the conclusion that crypto is basically here to stay. And the only way to kind of keep up with it is to make sure that they also have some skin in the game as well. That's why we saw so many entities entering the cryptocurrency space. But part of the problem is that a lot of the countries who previously announced that they didn't care for crypto have now basically thrown their hat into the ring, and they talk about how amazing it is, and they're trying to make their own coins and stuff as well. But the problem is, especially when it comes to newly digitized versions of fiat currencies, is that they're still going to be the same hot garbage from before. A consortium of banks within Nigeria, fintechs, and blockchain companies are apparently developing a stable coin of the Nigerian currency known as the naira. Cool. and the coin will be called the CNGN. The new stablecoin will be a consortium-based compliant and regulated naira stablecoin and will be pegged, here's the terrible part, will be pegged 1-to-1 to the NGN, their currency. But unlike previous stablecoins, it will be owned by Nigerian banks and will be legal tender. That is to be expected if they digitize their currency. It is going to obviously be legal tender. We've heard before that banks are no longer, apparently, a lot of them are not trying to make a central bank digital currency. Apparently, it's too difficult, so they're trying to now make them blockchain-based and simply make them into stable coins. According to a source from Forbes, the launch is planned for some time within 2024. Unlike previous versions, the CNGN will be, in this also, a lot of the people in the space don't know what anything is, and this is a huge problem when it comes to like education about the space as well. The person wrote that this new coin will be a cryptocurrency and not a CBDC. Stable coins, while backed by cryptography, are not cryptocurrencies as we know them when it comes to Bitcoin and Ethereum. Like they're not. You have to be decentralized and immutable to be able to be a cryptocurrency. I know, once again, backed by cryptography, got it. But in essence, the idea of what a cryptocurrency is something that is not controlled by any one given entity. It is not created by one given entity. It is for everyone, everywhere to be able to use and to be able to create themselves. So this will still be a central bank digital currency simply formed by a consortium, but it will also be on a blockchain. Also, the coin will be serviced by a consortium and owned by the banks. What just happened? Why did it expand like that? I guess it must have heard me talking negatively about it. It said, nevertheless, there are still many unknowns about the coin that will need to be clarified by the consortium, such as the blockchain it will be used on and planned apps and services for consumer. Why did it expand like that? That was very weird. I wasn't touching the mouse, and it okay. Anyway, the point is cool. So we now have another country. This is like number 12 who've announced that they're going to be making their own stable coin. Part of the problem is, a huge part of the problem is that these will still be backed by the same economic policies as governments have had for a long time. So if your money's been inflating, if money has gone missing, and all these other things, all these other economic problems, it's going to continue, but just in a more digitized manner. Countries are doing this because they're trying to get people to use this over Bitcoin and other things like that. This is one of the main ideas for those of you who missed it a number of years ago. These things were created, like we were told, these things were created because Bitcoin was becoming too popular. If Bitcoin becomes too popular, people won't want to use fiat currencies. So we were told that governments were literally going to be digitizing their currencies as a way, because they assumed that consumers and everyday normal people just wanted digital stuff. You think I'm joking, but that's literally it. They assumed that we just wanted to use digital money. So they were like, cool, we'll give it to them. For those of you not looking at the screen, this is the inflation rate within Nigeria. It is currently, at least at the largest point right here, it went from 21% to 28.2%. Part of the problem is that the digital currency will fall under the exact same metrics. So regardless of what you do or how you change it, and I won't swear here, but the phrase is a turd is a turd. So a lot of countries are trying to do this, and there's still a lot of, I know these are paid news stories in a lot of instances. There's still a lot of news stories about how like China's trying to trying to get their people in the country to try and use their digital currency, which also is not being used as much in the other countries as well, who've also made their own central bank digital currencies and or stable coins. No one's using them. Like there's literally no need to do it when we already have cards and other things we can pay online, PayPal, what have you. The issue is that getting your economic policies under control, not inflating your currency, not destroying your local economy. Because the more they do this, all this is basically free advertising for Bitcoin. There's really there ends up not being a downside, because the issue is that people will see what happens within their country. They'll realize that they can't buy anything. And then they'll simply go, okay, cool. Well, I'm going to start buying some Bitcoin. Bitcoin's price goes up. They continue to buy more. And that's how it works. Yeah. That's the Nigeria is making their own stablecoin news. Fantastic. And yeah, let's move on. Also in news that I personally don't understand, maybe someone can fill me in and or let me really, because I'm completely lost. The Avalanche Foundation, I assume the people behind the Avalanche coin, have announced plans to buy coins for their incubator. Apparently, they're going to be using a $100 million fund, and they're only going to be buying meme coins. M-E-M-E, like a meme, like a joke. That's why I said, like, maybe someone else could help me really understand exactly, because it's not April 1st, right? It's not? Okay. The Avalanche Foundation plans on buying meme coins under its Culture Catalyst program with its $100 million NFT incubator fund. The Avalanche Foundation, the nonprofit organization behind the development of the Avalanche network, will be acquiring a collection of meme coins using $100 million as a fund to what they say is to encourage the culture and fun fostered by meme-driven tokens. Let me go back a couple of steps because I feel like I've walked into a crazy house. Remember a number of years ago, for those of you who were not here, this was one of my biggest pet peeves, is that Justin Sun from Tron was constantly in the news, and he was always in the news as like a hero, and it was always this really weird narrative around him. Part of the problem is that he was buying anything he wanted. Nouveau riche, he was buying everything he saw, and it was a whole bunch of cryptocurrency companies and crypto exchanges and projects and websites and stuff like that. And a lot of times us, the public, were getting the news that he was spending like $60 million on this thing. And I think he spent I think it was $100 million on BitTorrent and created a BitTorrent token. And I was like, why? For those of you who weren't here, and I'm still watching these things, a couple of videos ago, I was telling everyone about these videos that I'm watching on YouTube about, it's called, I think, Lottery Changed My Life and stuff like that. And it's about these stories about people who won the lottery and over the course of years, how their lives changed. And there's a constant theme that's circulating over and over and over. These people win $112 million, $127 million, $83 million. 3 years later, bam, broke as broke can be. It's terrible. Like, it happens over and over and over and over and over. And a number of years ago, whenever Justin Sun was buying something or a new website, everyone else told me that it was going to succeed. He's Justin Sun. He has all the money. He must know what he's doing with $100 million. And then no one used it. No one went to the website. No one was buying these coins or these tokens. And I was like, yeah, so you know what you could have done with $100 million is literally anything else. You could have bought art. You could have bought stocks, and it would have performed better than that. You could have bought Bitcoin. I don't know how many people are willing to put $100 million into just Bitcoin, but he could have done that, and he would have had like a 30x on his money. You could have bought property. The amount of money that you would make from, it comes out to around, was it 660 with 100. So, and this was also one of the big problems years ago as well for a number of cryptocurrency projects, is that they had huge amounts of money, then it kind of all went to waste. With $100 million, and I mean just in property, you're getting roughly around $600,000 per month. $600,000 even after taxes or without taxes, depending on where people are in the world, because a lot of these people are choosing to live in countries that have no income tax. $600,000 goes a very long way for your cryptocurrency project. Like a huge long. Was that $7.2 million per year that you're basically making from your money. I can't myself understand how a company or a foundation or an anything got to the conclusion that one of the things that they should be doing with $100 million incubator fund is buying meme coins. That's the part for me that I'm just not understanding. Avalanche Foundation announced it will be buying meme coins for its Culture Catalyst initiative. The Culture Catalyst initiative is a $100 million project launched in March 2022. In the announcement, they explained last year, the Avalanche Foundation launched Culture Catalyst, a program aimed at empowering creators, sparking innovation, and propelling the adoption of blockchains. This initiative seeks to position Avalanche better to cultivate and support the many forms of creativity, culture, and lifestyle that blockchain enables. From that, I would assume that this means they're going to be, or they would be, buying from brand new NFT projects or other new things that they found interesting. But the constant repetition of meme coins is the part that really gets me. The article continues to go on, and I don't think I can actually read anymore because it's quite annoying. Once again, if someone else can shed some light on this, or maybe I'm missing something, perhaps the article isn't explaining in its entirety exactly what this is going to be used for, or maybe I'm simply reading over. Maybe I just didn't get something that was presented to me in English, but no. I would have preferred if the news had been they're buying meme coins to make quick, easy money. That would have also been quite applicable. We see a lot of times that a lot of the meme coins, especially during a bull run, tend to sometimes do a 10, 15, 20, 30x. That is not financial advice. I am not telling you to go and buy meme coins, because the problem is you won't know which meme coin. That's usually the issue. But cool, if they were going to be throwing it into, we're so rich, we have an extra 100 million to throw into anything to see exactly what sticks to the wall, see how much money we can make. That's one thing, but very weird news. Relatively popular as well. The $100 million project fund, of course, it made popular news, but I'm still a bit confused. We haven't heard about Avalanche in I don't know how many years, and this is the first thing that we get from it, so a little bit confusing. Yeah, I think that's going to do it for this video. I do sincerely hope that you have all enjoyed. I do hope that you all are having a great day, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope it is absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and or supporting. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.